Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the American Sports Connection. I'm your host, the one and only Joey Railroads. And American Sports Connection is going Hollywood today because we have someone you might know as Lights, Camera, Jaxon. Yes, that's right. Our very special guest today is the one and only Jaxon Stone. Jaxon, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for taking the time, man. Now, what are your first memories of pro wrestling?
Oh, that's great. So I first saw wrestling in 2006. So I was a bit of a late bloomer. But I was flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden, I didn't know who he was at the time, but there's Edge, and he's at John Cena's dad's house, and they're having a little altercation, and eventually Edge just slaps the piss out of John Cena's dad, and then I was like, what's going on? So I watched the rest of the Raw episode, and then I followed the whole build up until John Cena's and Edge's matchup at that SummerSlam in 2006, and then from that point on, I've been pretty much obsessed.
Now, who are your favorites?
Well, I mean, always have a strong passion for John Cena and Edge because they got me into it. But once I got into it and started looking back at all the history, since I was clearly a late bloomer, found a lot of love for The Rock for sure. But like major influences on me are like Rick Martel and Rick Rude for sure were two of my favorites that I really enjoy.
I always think that Rick Martel is super underappreciated.
Absolutely, he was amazing.
I always said that he should have at least had a Intercontinental title run at some point.
Definitely should have. Definitely should have. I love his match with. One of the better matches I saw of him was when he wrestled Razor Ramon when Razor Ramon was champion.
Yeah, that was in like '94, I think.
Yeah, that was a really good match.
Yeah, no, but those are two guys that you sometimes really don't hear about. Him and Rick Rude.
Yeah, they were just really good at really good at what they do. Not everyone can be the Hulk Hogan, so but you still have to have guys who have to carry the card, and those guys played their role perfectly and did the absolute best job possible.
Absolutely. Now, when did you decide you were going to get into the business?
Well, when I started watching it, and then I got into high school a little bit, and then a few years into high school, I figured that I could do it because I started getting a little bit bigger. I ended up being about 6'1" and weighing a little over 200 pounds, and I was like, all right, I sort of am the same size as the guys on TV, so I was knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to give it a shot. But I was really big into baseball, and that took me throughout high school, and then it took me to college, and then it took me a little professionally too. So I ran out the baseball thing until that was over, and until people told me I wasn't good enough to play anymore, and then I started the wrestling thing.
Okay, now if you didn't do the wrestling stuff, do you still think you'd be playing pro ball? Not necessarily maybe in the States, but somewhere?
Maybe when I was told that I was gonna get cut, it was sort of a relief actually because I'd been playing baseball literally every day from age 8 till I stopped playing at 22. So
I got you where it was just go, 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 go.
Yeah, and I was at some points I was playing for 3 or 4 teams, playing every single day, especially in college. And then, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was amazing. But when I stopped playing, I was like, holy shit.
Where you wanted to have a life in a way.
Right. And then I instantly knew that, okay, I think wrestling is what's gonna happen for the rest of my life, hopefully. So that's when I started training.
Right. Okay. Now, tell me about your training experience.
Training experience was great. So I went to college in South Dakota. Once that was over, I moved back home to Dallas. Got a job as a personal trainer, and then found a school that was within 30 minutes of my gym job so that I could work and train at the same time. And I started training January of 2015. at this place called Metroplex Wrestling in Bedford, Texas.
Okay.
My main trainer was Stephen Kirby. It was great. I mean, they taught me everything I needed to know, and not a huge, well-known place, but definitely a place if you're in that area that I would look at. They run weekly shows, so it's easy to get a lot of experience and learn learn by trial by error and stuff like that. So it was a really good place to learn, and I traveled to a lot of seminars and camps throughout that. And yeah, I had my first match about 9 months after I began training in September of 2015. So I'm just at my 2 year debut or 2 year anniversary, which is cool.
That's awesome. Now, who did you train with, and like, how do you think it's like that those guys helped you to kind of grow into what the performer you are now 2 years later?
I think in terms of training, like there's there's basic stuff that you have to know before you can move on to anything, and I think there's a way of teaching it regardless of where you go, like rolls and bumps and footwork and all that, and placement and all that stuff is necessary, and those tools have to be given by any trainer. But I think it's up to the performer to kind of have a natural feel for it, and watch more wrestling to see what kind of makes sense, and have like just, I don't know, a natural instinct for what we do. And I think that's really important. But I think in terms of training, like the school I went to was really good at giving me the basics and like the necessary knowledge I needed to not make a fool of myself when I went other places, and then continue to grow outwards.
That's important because there's a lot of ones out there that are not so great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've heard some horror training stories, and that's definitely not what happened to me. They took care of me, made sure I could bump before I could do anything else, and before I could roll, before I could do anything, all that other stuff, and they weren't
Right,
pushing
right.
me,
Now
doing anything weird and things like that.
yeah,
So
no, no. Now you had recently just moved up into the Philly, New Jersey area, correct?
yeah, yeah. I just moved here in August. I'm right outside of Philly in Plymouth Meeting.
Right. So what does that like transition been like from where you were training and working shows down there as opposed to up here?
Um, so so like Texas is really big, obviously. So when you drive like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, you're still in the same state, and it's hard to get away from the same people and wrestling the same guys, and it's hard to continue to gain exposure on a bigger level. So looking at this area, from where I was in Texas, like so many guys from this region are doing amazing things, and there's so many big talked about shows in this region, and it's getting national exposure, and it's easy to travel to different big states from here that are 3 or 4 hours away, like New York or Rhode Island or Maine or Connecticut or any place like that. So I thought to myself, well, why not move out here? I've got no real ties in Texas except for my parents who still live there. But so I just, packed up my car, drove out here, found a place to live, and now I'm trying to expand the Jaxon Stone brand.
That's awesome, man. And I think, and I've told people this that live here, I don't think we understand how lucky we are, because you can go within, I'll just say 2 hours, and you could probably find a dozen or more really good independent companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Like within 30 minutes of each other, you can train at CZW, you can train at the Monster Factory, you can train at Ring of Honor. Like that's unheard of. And all three places are amazing and have strong connections and can build you up and all that sort of thing. So like, yeah, and then you can go to like the New England area, and they have a ton of good stuff out there, or you can locate yourself in New York and just kind of travel both ways. So it's great.
Yeah, no, it's really cool how it's like the Northeast, we're just loaded in the Northeast. That's why I was like, because I've had friends in Texas, oh, well, we only have like VIP wrestling, but I'm like, dude, I could tell you I'm somewhere else every weekend.
Yeah, yeah. VIP wrestling is great though. They just put on a big anniversary show over the
Oh
weekend.
yeah, no, no. I just was saying because I have another friend that lives down that way, and he's like, oh, well, we only have like them, or there's a couple others I don't remember off the top of my head, but I was like, yeah, we're spoiled. We have so many up here.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, there's very few like shows in Texas that are like, really, really solid that you can get like actual attention from. But out here, that's totally different. So
Oh no, absolutely. Now, when I saw you wrestle last week, and this is very rare, I saw a move that I've never seen before, and that's like I said, that's really rare in wrestling. You actually call it the clashing stones. Now,
yep.
how did that come about that you found that move or learned how to do it?
So I mean, I was playing around with some stuff in the WXW dojo in Germany, and uh, my buddy from Texas, Andy Dalton, had mentioned this move to me, and it was hard for me to understand what the move was. So I was going through my head in the dojo in Germany, and then I got the crash pad out and got another wrestler to help me work through it, and I came up with this move and performed it a few times now, and it's gotten good feedback and reactions. So I think it's going to be the Jaxon Stone finishing maneuver for sure. No one's going to kick out of it ever.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned that because before I found a video of you wrestling from probably last year with you doing that move, I tried to explain it to someone and they're like, I'm not picturing it. It's not computing.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain to like other wrestlers too, like the move. So I had to show them it on video, and then they're like, oh, okay, that seems pretty easy. Yeah, but it's hard to like be in the Styles Clash position and like tucking your chin and then like landing on your back is like very very confusing. But
Especially because you're like the Styles Clash, you're not supposed to tuck your chin.
exactly, so it's like it throws people off. They don't know what to do. So yeah, it's crazy.
So you mentioned being over at WXW in Germany. What was that experience like for you initially? Because I know you're going back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's probably been the best place that I've wrestled so far by far. I flew myself out there to train with them for 4 weeks, November of last year. And then through that process, apparently I did really well, and I earned myself a spot on their official roster. So then I made my first actual tour of Europe this past April, May, and June, and then that was great. And then I'm going back, obviously, in October and November for another couple months with them. So yeah, WXW's by far the best and my most favorite promotion that I've worked for so far. And I got myself over there, and they've given me more opportunity from that. So it's been really great.
Dude, that's awesome because if everyone that's listening, if you're not familiar with them in Germany, definitely check them out because David Starr wrestles there. Dave Christ, who's on Impact, wrestles. They got a lot of like super talented guys, but those are just the two that pop off, right off the top of my head.
Yeah, like so they have like an apartment that they own that's like kind of connected to their dojo, and like when I go over there, like the Americans basically that'll be staying in that apartment for a lengthy amount of time will be like Alexander James, who's from this area, David Starr, Timothy Thatcher, and then me. So they've got like a really good group of guys going over there to help their product out. And definitely, if you haven't checked them out, they're amazing. They have a streaming service called WXW Now, which they have tons of events. They're linked to like a lot of CZW stuff, so you can kind of get a dual package on that. But yeah, the stuff's amazing that they put on.
Well, dude, that's cool that they have like a little like place you can like just stay, so you don't have to worry about, well, where am I going to stay while I'm over here for 2 months.
Yeah, that's why they do the extended stays, because they want their fans to get like the full experience of the Americans coming in, not just like one off. But so they have their own apartment and their own dojo and their own office. Yeah, it's a very 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 well run company with. I mean, they run about 75 shows a year, so they.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so they're up there with like running some of the. I mean, they run some big shows too, like 16 Carat, and they have this huge tag league coming up the weekend that I get there with like the Spirit Squad and the Briscoes and stuff like that. So
That's
they're doing a lot of
awesome.
stuff. Yeah. So I mean, in terms of European wrestling, they're up there because the scene out there is like incredibly hot as well.
Oh no, yeah. Well, I really enjoy that style. That's really catching on. Now, has there ever been a move you like thought twice about doing?
In terms of like me performing it or
Yeah,
taking it.
yeah.
Um, no, I
These
mean,
are some fan questions too that I got on Twitter.
I don't know. I just the moves I try to do, I try to make them my own, and I mean, because there's so many moves and people do so much stuff, and I don't want to do the same thing that other people do. So, like I've put a unique spin on my fall away slam just by starting it on my shoulders and then doing the same fall away slam, but just adding an extra movement to it and stuff like that to try to make my stuff look unique and more creative.
No, it does look cool. Here's another Twitter question. They asked, "What has been your worst injury to date?"
None so far. Knock on wood. I did an elbow drop one time and my elbow blew up, but that's about it. Nothing too serious so far.
Hey, well, that's great.
I mean, I got a lot of bumps and bruises and my neck hurts, but you know, all that's how everyone feels, but no serious injuries, which is good. Hopefully it stays that way.
As I hear you knocking on wood,
Yeah.
is there anyone that you want to wrestle that's currently wrestling that you have not yet?
I mean, yeah, a ton of guys. I mean, I'd really like to wrestle David Starr. I feel like that would be fun. We did a little match at the dojo in WXW, but it wasn't in front of anyone. So I feel like we could put on a pretty good match. But I'd like to wrestle guys like that, or I think Sami Callihan would be a fun match to wrestle, and you know all those guys. Just pretty much anyone that's in this area that I haven't been able to get in the ring with.
That's awesome, and it's funny you mentioned David Starr because I just was scrolling this morning and I saw the thing he sent out to promoters. This is the official list of the nicknames for me.
Oh yeah, it's so long. It's like a 10-minute entrance. It's
Well, it's
amazing.
funny because I messaged him after I saw it, and I said, "Dude," because we jokingly talk about this. That I was like, "You have to have the Dojo Davy one because from where he's wrestled at the CZW Dojo once or twice."
Right?
And then it was, and he came up with this one, but it's not on the list. The man that kicked out of DJ Hyde's lariat.
Oh God.
And I was like, what happened? But he never got back to me as to why that wasn't on the list.
He added the Bernie Sanders of
Oh
professional.
my God, that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's great.
No, that's some really good stuff. Excuse me. Now, where are you headed for the rest of the year? Like, what's the plans for Jaxon Stone?
So I'll finish out a few of the bookings I got the rest of this month. I'll make my debut for AML Wrestling at the end of the month. And then I leave for Europe October 1st, and then I'm out there for 2 months, which I'm doing. Obviously, have most of my schedule's filled out there with WXW dates, and then I got few bookings in Denmark and Holland. So that'll be cool. So I'll do that for a couple months, and then come back and hit back this East Coast scene December and January and see where it takes me.
That's awesome that you're gonna get to go to. You said Denmark and Holland.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Last time I went, I got to go to Belgium and Ireland, so that was cool. So now I'm adding a few more countries to the list.
Yeah, there you go, man. Start checking them all off.
Absolutely. It's the best part about wrestling. Traveling.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Now, where can people contact you on social media if they wanna get a hold of you?
I'm all over Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's all just Jaxon Stone. You can also go to my website. I have a contact page on my website if you want to ask me certain questions or stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks again, dude, for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to get out of here for today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. And we'll see you back next time. Have a good day, everybody.